Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to be talking about the movie Us and commentary from K. Austin Collins, a Vanity Fair movie critic who critiqued the film Us for Slate, which is a podcast. And I'm going to be commentating on his critique, all right? Okay, so K. Austin Collins he's a film critic for Vanity Fair. Dana Stevens, who is kind of she's an executive level. I think she's executive level at Slate. I think she's actually like the editor-in-chief of Slate. And, she's really high up on the totem pole there. And she's at a high level there. Okay, sorry. All right, and so basically she brought K. Austin Collins on to discuss the movie Us on a 50-minute podcast, which was on Slate. And I listened to all of Slate's podcasts. I would say I listened to the vast majority of their podcasts. They're really fantastic. They create fantastic content, and I really like them. Today, I'm going to be talking about K. Austin Collins' commentary on the movie Us, because I think he got it about 80% wrong. I'd say 4 out of 5 things he said on the podcast were like dead wrong. Now, I think K. Austin Collins is very intelligent, and I think he went into this critiquing this movie with a genuine desire to experience the art in a wholesome way. I don't think he achieved that. I don't think he saw the movie for what it was. And I kind of want to just talk about, he just said so many things about the film that I think are dead wrong. And I just want to go kind of point by point and say why I think that is not correct, right? So the first one was, he said that the movie should not be analyzed, right? That the movie was not made to be analyzed. And this is I'm like, what? What are you talking about? So I think this is fundamentally wrong. I think the movie absolutely was meant to be analyzed. And I have no idea why he would say something like that the film is not meant to be analyzed. So I'll give you my evidence for why the movie is absolutely meant to be analyzed. Okay? So, one, Jeremiah 11:11. It shows up early in the movie, right? And here you're saying, so Jordan Peele got to choose what he puts in this film, right? One of the first things he shows, he says, let's connect this horror film to the Bible, right? The Bible is a millenniums-old sacred text that has, that any one passage is likely to have books written about it, right? It's one of the most analyzed texts. I think it is the most analyzed text in the history of mankind, right? Without any, it doesn't even have any peers in that, right? And so he said, so that's the first thing. It's one of the first things he attaches, right, to the film. Jordan Peele also clearly is looking at themes of duality and themes of nature versus nurture, right? And this is throughout the entire film, right? The characters themselves, Adie and Gabe and Jason and Zora, they each have a dark doppelganger which have their own names, right? Red. And so Red is connected to Adie, and then Gabe is connected to Abraham, and then Jason is connected to Pluto, right? And then Zora is connected to Umbre, right? Zora's alternate name is Umbre. Umbre means the areas of the Earth that experience that experience the total eclipse. Are you kidding me? That one word you could write a treatise on, right? And the meaning of what is being done there, right? And so this entire movie begs to be analyzed. The Hands Across America, right? This is incredible, right? So Hands Across America. So Red, who's the actual, by the way, there are spoilers in this. So Red, who is the actual, spoiler warning. So Red, who is the actual Adie, right? Who was born naturally, not created by the government. Okay, she actually witnesses when she's young. She witnesses Hands Across America, right? And she witnesses the build-up into it. And I think we get the idea that she actually witnessed the event itself, right? And that event was not completed. It was an attempt of humans to help other humans. And in many ways, in my opinion, I lived through it. It was a failure. It was a laughing joke because there were huge tracts of the country that weren't completed, right? But then when the tethered do it, right, when it's shown in the film, there is an unbroken line. At every point where it's shown in the film, the line is unbroken, right? And that means that the tethered completed a task that the untethered didn't, right? It means that these broken humans, right, these broken creatures, because we don't really know if they're human. They were created by the government, and they were clearly not birthed, right? So we really don't know if they're actually human. We don't really know what their full nature is, right? So with that said, it's, you know, they completed a task that the untethered could not complete, right? There is incredibly deep meaning in that. There is the Wilson family, right? And then there are their richer friends, the twin family, the family that has two girls who are twins. Sorry, I don't remember their name now. But they were, like, in the film, the tethered come to defeat the Wilsons. The Wilsons fight the tethered, right? And by the way, this is one of the points that Chaos and Collins got dead right. There's a theme of family preparedness, right, in this film. So that the Wilsons are attacked by their tethered counterparts. The Wilsons rebuff every single one of their tethered counterparts, and are able to are wounded themselves, but none of them are killed by their counterparts. The twins family are attacked, and the entire family is killed in less than 5 minutes, right? Now you can go back and you can look and say, what is different about the Wilsons than is different about the twins family? Why did every single member of the Wilsons survive, and yet every single member of the twins family died? And died quite quickly, right? And so, like, there's this question of family preparedness. All of this is ready for deep analysis. This movie absolutely begs to be analyzed, right? Dude, like, Jordan Peele is using the word umbre. That's Latin for areas of the earth that experience a total eclipse, right? Like, that is begging for analysis, right? This movie could be unpacked for 20 years. There will probably be people who write doctrinal theses on Us. I think there's already people who have written doctrinal theses on the film Get Out, right? And for instance, I'm a big convention goer, which I'm very blessed. I'm very fortunate. And the conventions I like to go to have panels, and there are at many of the conventions I'm going to, there are intellectual discussions of the movie Get Out. So why on earth would K. Austin Collins think that someone who made one of the most analyzable horror films in the history of the genre come back to that same genre and fill it with Latin words and say, this doesn't stand up for analysis, this movie should not be analyzed? All right, so here's the thing. K. Austin Collins is clearly intelligent. He clearly knows what he's doing as a movie critic, right? But I don't know what was going on. I don't know if he had been assigned 3 projects at once, or he had just, like, maybe eaten some bad kombucha the night before or something. But his analysis for this movie was just checked out, right? Like, I just don't think he saw this film when he saw it, right? I think it just hit him at a layer that I don't understand why he felt the way he did. There's so many things he said. Another thing he said was that Lupita Nyong'o, Jordan Peele had cast Lupita Nyong'o as a scream queen, right? And I'm like, what? Are you crazy? Like, so Scream Queen is something within the horror genre. It's an old tradition within the horror genre, which I had thought was pretty much dying, right? And they don't really put them in films anymore. It's from the 80s and 90s. It's kind of a retro theme that we're quickly abandoning. And so the idea that Jordan Peele had cast Lupita Nyong'o as a Scream Queen is outrageous. The scream queen in these movies, her job is to be chased through the film, and she screams in ways that some people would find attractive, right? That's absolutely not what Lupita Nyong'o is doing in this film. She's the central protagonist, right? Like, it's like, are you paying attention? She's not a scream queen in this film. She's the central protagonist, and she is kicking butt more than anyone in the film while she's wearing shackles, right? I'm like, are you paying attention? Like, I couldn't believe how off the analysis was of Us. And the reason why I'm talking about it today is I think a lot of people are not seeing Us for what it actually is. In my opinion, Us is a deeper film than Get Out. And the reason why is I think when Jordan Peele created Get Out, this is my opinion, I think he intended to speak to two specific cultures, and I think he accomplished that. I think he had a story that would speak more deeply to two specific cultures, right? And everybody else, you could watch the movie, but there wasn't this really distinct message for you when you watch, if you were not a member of one of those two distinct cultures. Now, with the movie Us, that is not the case. Us is a movie that was made for all cultures, in my opinion, right? And with that, he frees it from being like kind of a culture-based film and saying, this is a film for all humanity, right? And Jordan Peele, he's a unique individual. He has the right to make a film that speaks to two cultures, right? When he was done with that, I think he wanted to talk to all people. He's like, okay, I have proven, I have an Oscar. Here it is, right? And then I think he was like, get this. Everybody better pay attention, because I have arrived and I have something to say to all of humanity, not just one or two cultures, but to everyone. And I think if you look closely at Us has more message in it. It has a more universal message in it than Get Out does. And I think it's a deeper film without a doubt, right? Another thing he said was that the tethered are supernatural, right? Again, completely wrong. Absolutely nothing, any of the tethered do in the film, do you need to think that it has a supernatural source, right? So when they're attacking people, their attacks are completely natural. They use weapons. They don't use any type of psychic abilities. We don't witness them use any eye beams or any, they don't form into mist and then reappear somewhere else. They don't exhibit anything supernatural, except there's one thing that they do that I think K. Austin Collins said, I think this thing proves they're supernatural, and I'll explain it now. So the tethered, while they're down below, right? When you're tethered, and the tethered are down below, when they're in the tunnels and in the facilities that the government made, and in the sewers, and in the subway tunnels and those kind of things, they actually twitch and they recreate certain things that are happening from the untethered, right? Their actions model the untethered, right? So now, how do they do that, right? Well, one of the things is, and I recognize this, and I'm really shocked that K. Austin Collins didn't recognize this. Jordan Peele he's a writer, right? And if you're a writer, you go to, you read books to make your writing better. You go to conventions to make your writing better. You listen to writers to make your writing better. And this is an age-old, it's actually not age-old, it's relatively new, but there's a saying called RUE, which is resist the urge to explain. RUE, resist the urge to explain. And it says, if you don't explain every single thing in your movie, you allow the experiencer, if you as the creator don't explain every single thing in your art, you allow the experiencer room for explanation, room for interpretation. It's a sign of respect for the experiencer, saying, I'm creating, right? And I'm going to put this in front of you, but I respect the fact that you have the right to interpret what I put on the screen, what I put on the page, right? And I think Jordan Peele is a RUE writer. He's a resist the urge to explain writer, right? And so, but we can absolutely interpret. And just using Occam's razor, right? If you think about, well, how would they have done it? One, they could have chips which are transmitting the actions of the other person, to them, right? Now, the tethered would be chipped, not the untethered, right? There could be cameras in their homes that the tethered are able to see those cameras and then go act out those scenes, right? The other thing is that they may be acting out scenes that they've already seen, right? Because they went up and watched, right? But there's no reason to jump to the fact that the tethered are supernatural. In fact, correct analysis of the film really indicates that they are quite natural, right? They were in fact, almost virtually every single clue in the film points to the fact that they were created by the government, right? Or an organization that controlled the government, right? Like kind of like an oligarchy, right? So just completely wrong. So like he said that. So K. Austin Collins said that Us is not meant to be analyzed, right? That it's best not to analyze Us, which is absurd. I feel it really belittles the work of Jordan Peele. This movie clearly is meant to be analyzed. Like you don't go and drop in Latin in the middle of your film that you're like, oh, it's just another slasher flick. It's absurd, right? The other thing is just the use of music. The use of music alone is another huge point where, like, if you're paying attention, that the father of the twin family saying, oh, hey, call the police, and then F the police coming on, like there's something to be analyzed there. Like, it's not just a joke, right? And I couldn't believe how, in some ways, I think the analysis of Us is by K. Austin Collins is incredibly shallow. Now, I think he's capable of completely analyzing the movie, but I don't think he did it when he got ready for Slate, right? And I think that most of his work was based on a piece that he had done for Vanity Fair that was already finished when he went into Slate, or the material that he was talking about in the podcast ended up in his piece for Vanity Fair, right? So one or the other. I'm pretty sure that he had done the Vanity Fair piece before, right? And I'm just like, couldn't believe like how, in my opinion, I think it was dismissive. I just think it was dismissive overall, and just kind of a little bit disturbing. So one, I think the film absolutely really is meant to be analyzed, and I think it will be. I think it'll be analyzed for a long time. Boy, I hope, right? I think a lot of people in the media are seeing the movie the way K. Austin Collins is. And so I hope people understand that this movie was clearly meant to be analyzed. Lupita Nyong'o is absolutely not a scream queen in the film. And the tethered are natural, not supernatural, right? Now, I want to talk real quick here at the end about Jordan Peele's discussion of the film, right? I've seen Grace Randolph. She is a really fantastic. Grace Randolph is really fantastic movie critic. I think she got her analysis of this wrong, completely wrong as well. She really did not give it a good review. She said that there wasn't a lot of there. I think that's a good summary of what she was saying. And the reality is, she said that when she went to see what Jordan Peele had said was the meaning of the film, he was saying that there really wasn't any meaning, right? Like there weren't. Like, if you asked, what are the scissors? If you asked, why are they wearing red jumpsuits? If you asked, what is the Hands Across America? What is the meaning of the Hands Across America in the film? He is not. He is absolutely not giving you a full explanation of those things, right? And he's not saying this is what it means, right? He's saying, oh, there's no real meaning to it, right? Now, just to be clear, I have a word for this. It's called Garinox, which means that artists cannot clarify their art for anyone at any time. I'm a big believer in this, right? And the reason why is they don't even know their own subconscious. They don't know everything that's in the film. The most classic example of this is almost many critics said that Lord of the Rings was about J.R.R. Tolkien's experiences in World War II. J.R.R. Tolkien said, no, that's not correct, right? But here's the thing. If he was traumatized by his experience in World War II, if he had subconscious messages that were in him, they absolutely can be inserted into the work, right? So he's not objective about what is in his work. In fact, it is arguable that artists are the least likely to know what's actually in their work because they don't know their own base natures, right? No one does. No one knows their own heart and their own mind, right? And the more you think you do, probably the less people should actually be listening to you, right? We are complex beings. People take years in therapy, like, to understand what they actually believe, what they've repressed, right? So there's no way that an artist can tell you what the meaning. So one, artists actually can't tell you what the meaning of their work is. And artists who do are fundamentally worse artists. The absolute best example of this is Darren Aronofsky explaining every stupid thing in the movie Mother, right? He would not shut up when he was being asked about that film. He's like, this is what it meant, this is what it meant, this is what I was thinking, right? And the reality is, you create the art and you allow the art to work, to speak for you. Now, I think Jordan Peele understands that the spotlight is on him right now. And if he comes out and he says, this is what the Hands Across America means, I think he fully understands what the meaning of that is. And the reason why he hasn't declared it and why he said that there is no clear meaning, right, is because what these people are doing, this drives me crazy, what these reporters are doing when they ask him the meaning of the film, they're like, you've made this wonderful piece of art. Now you're a creator. You've created this piece of art. Now the experiencers are going to come in and experience it and interpret it, right? But we don't want to have to think. Can you get rid of the thinking part for us? Can you just tell us what it means? It is the most base, disgusting habit that it is dangerously, it is intellectually dangerous. It is disrespectful, and it is one of the things that needs to die immediately in our culture. This going to the creators and begging them to let us not think. It really, really aggravates me. And I think people saying that there isn't analysis, that there isn't deep meaning in every single aspect of Jordan Peele's Us is incredibly disrespectful to him as a creator, and it really needs to be rolled back. I actually think The Us is a deeper film than Get Out, because it's speaking to all humanity rather than speaking directly to two cultures, right? And Get Out, I'm a huge fan of it. I thought it was, you can find my review for it right here on my channel, right? But Us is the growth of a director, and the idea that Us is a step down from Get Out is utterly ridiculous. And I really think that K. Austin Collins needs to watch this film again and come at me, bro. Let me know where I'm wrong, right? I've commented on your content. Please, I invite you to comment on mine, right? Because the reality is, the Tethered are not supernatural. Lupita Nyong'o is absolutely not a scream queen in this film, and Us is absolutely begging to be analyzed, right? That's my thoughts on the film. I'd love to hear your comments below, especially you, Chaos and Collins, or response video, whatever you got. So I really appreciate that. Also, I do want to say thank you to Slate. I love their content, and I really enjoyed listening to this particular commentary. I enjoyed listening to Chaos and Collins' discussion of the film. I think he tried to engage with the film, but it's just one of those things like when an ice skater goes out, sometimes they fall, right? And I think this is a slip on the ice for Chaos and Collins. I really feel like he should literally just review the movie again. I think there's a lot in Us that people aren't seeing, and I'm excited for other people to see it. I love this film, and I think Chaos and Collins is completely wrong on this film. That's why I thought, please consider liking and subscribing. Have a wonderful day.